Yo guys, this is Reinhardt and this video is gonna be my third about RBG guys. So far I actually helped about 8 to 9 people get their 2200 through my videos alone, and I'm very excited about it. So let's keep going at it and let me actually provide you with more good content in terms of the guides. And today I'm going to be talking about the rankings, different comps and different roles. But guys, I want you to keep in mind for one thing here in particular, is that it's going to be my personal experience. I hate trolls. I love the feedback that you guys getting me on my videos, whether it's negative or positive, but I do hate trolls with the guts, and there's a fine line between those two. So with that said, this video is going to be from my personal experience when it comes to ranking different comps and different roles. My credentials are 2500 on both DK and luck this season, not the last season, not the previous season. And I did actually outdamage a rank 1 gladiators, multiple rank 1 gladiators. And I'm going to be showing you some footage regarding to that very soon. And I actually have a surprise for you. As an unholy DK, I managed to outdamage one of the best DKs in RBGs right now, who has 2 DKs up to 2800. He was Frost, I was Unholy. And I'm gonna be making video about this later on. So let's jump on to the guide itself. Okay, so for the top DPS tier, I have on the first place sub Rogue. The reason why is because, let me tell you, if there's a chance that you're not getting an FC map, the Rogues may be not the most mandatory class to have. But on FC maps they are mandatory because of the state of the smoke bomb currently. So with that said, I would wanna say that sub rogues are actually number 10 and they are a must to have. The second one I would say Boomkins, and the reason why my Boomkins is actually higher on a bar than Fire Mage and Affliction Luck is because, simply put, Boomkins do a top damage. They have the best CC in the game right now, which is Cyclone, which is undispellable and you cannot heal through it, only trinket to get away from it. Fears break quite often in Cleaves RBGs because they're not only taking damage from your dots, they're taking dots from everybody else, and the full fear might last like 2 or 3 seconds, but a good clone won't be able to dispel it, ever. And then we have on the third and the fourth, and they're actually both at 9, is a Fire Mage and Affliction Luck. Affliction Luck provides a dispel protection for your whole team, so he is actually a must to have, with a bunch of the other tools like Spawnable CC, as well as a very good solid ranged interrupt, and you can do that interrupt while casting yourself, which is huge. The only negative portion about it, the pets do have a tendency to keep dotted up, because other team wants to top damage, and they do die quite frequently. And for Fire Mages, they do have the best AoE burst in the game, which is a combustion. Oh my god, they can do up to 80-90k damage per target, and they can bust it to anybody within 10 yards, I believe. And they do have the best AoE CC in the game. Yes, howls are nice, but they're breakable easy and can be dispelled. Yes, the Solar Beam is nice, but it's a 1 minute cooldown. Dragon Breath, on the other hand, is actually a 20-second cooldown, and dots don't break it. Targets keep actually taking damage while they full Dragon Breath, so sometimes we actually would kill targets from 70k HP to 0 in a single Dragon Breath in our dot cleave comps. Needless to say, dot cleave is actually my favorite comps to run. I always like the mechanics of the dot cleave myself. So that's it for the top DPS tier. For the mid DPS tier, these classes are actually also very solid choices, but they're not the most mandatory classes to have. So get this straight a little bit. They can be in RBGs, they can be very successful, and they can get to high ratings, but they're not the most mandatory class to have, meaning that they might lose the spot to the other classes, and they're not the irreplaceable classes like the first top tier. For one, we have Shadow Priest, and the reason why I have Shadow Priest ranked higher than actually DK, which everybody could actually disagree with me on that part, is simply because Shadow Priest does have one of the best bursts. He has additional dot protection, which is huge for the whole group, and it's AoE CC, horror effect, that is unbreakable on damage. And last but not least, they do actually have a very good CCs themselves in terms of the silence, disarm, and AoE fear themselves. And like I said, really good burst. Ally Shamans are also on that category. They actually ridiculously good. They do have sort of a dot protection, but the dot protection involves is actually upping their damage majorly. I've seen ally shamans stopping damage like there's no tomorrow because their flame shock will get dispelled, and they would be basically getting heroism buff from dispelling the flame shock. It is actually pretty huge. They do have one of the best bursts and interrupts in the game. Yes, I believe that wind shear is actually the best interrupt in the game. So with that said, I actually would say ally shamans is at number 7. And number 6, however, is a Frost Decay, a very solid choice. Frost Decay has an amazing AoE damage utility via Howling Blast spam. They have a decent CCs. Hungering Cold is actually not that great because it takes time to pull it off, and it breaks on dots very fast. But the Strangler does help a lot. So with that said, yes, Frost Decays are really good, and they have the best, sort of like a gap closer in the game, which is Death Grip, because they can dictate where the enemy can be located, not the other ways around. On top of that, having nearly spammable roots is also a major plus. And then the Frost Mages outrank him as much as Decay, simply put because they don't do a lot of AoE damage, even though their burst is actually ridiculously good. Red Paladins are below, but I've seen some Red Paladins at 25-2600 rating. They're good, but they need to be doing the shot a lot of damage, a lot of consistent bursts, and they have to be healing like there's no freaking tomorrow as well. So being a red paladin is actually pretty not the easiest thing to do right now in RBGs, because they will need to be healing their allies. Number 4 is most likely something that can be replaced in order to straighten up your comp. Unholy Decays are number 4, I would say, because nobody wants them on US. On Europe, it's actually quite the opposite from what I heard, and I actually do believe we can be competitive, but trying to actually persuade people that Unholy Decay is viable is actually quite a bit of challenge. Survival Hunters and Marksman Hunters are also number 4. Survival Hunters for flag carry maps and MM Hunters for flag capturing maps, and they're both pretty good. The other specs like Demo, Destro, other rogue specs, whatever it is, are decently viable, but they're not the greatest. They can be replaced with anybody else in order to make their comp stronger. I'm sorry, but this is the way I see it right now when it comes to DPS tier. For healing, I have 2 tiers only, and the mandatory to have is Disc Priest because they have the best dispels in the game right now. H Poly for a bomb heals, and Rest of Shamans. The reason I have this Disc Priest a little bit higher is because you actually do need really good Disc Priest who can dispel as much as possible. While you can also get away with running 2 Shamans instead of a Shaman H Poly, or 2 different H Polys instead of a Rest of Shaman. So H Poly and Rest of Shaman can cannibalize itself when it comes to spot, but these priests are actually irreplaceable right now. For mid healing, I have Holy Priest number 7 simply because I actually played with a very good Holy Priest at 25-2700 rating, and they can bomb AoE heals better than anybody else. We are Circuit of Healing and the Renew Spam, and they also have the best dispels in the game. When it comes to their survivability, I think they are a little bit less survivable than Rested Druids currently. Rested Druids do provide a very good spammable CC, and they do have nice huts that counter dot cleaves. Unfortunately, they are also a very squishy targets, and they are heavily reliant on having a 3 stacks of Life Bloom, which means that a huge portion of their healing, single target healing, can actually go to waste, unless your flag carrier getting trained and you actually need to have a 3 Life Blooms on him. Tank tier is actually very easy. Prat Warrior number 10, the reason why he's number 10 is because he does have actually right now the best mobility, and I heard it's getting toned down a little bit in Mist of Pandaria, but right now they have a best mobility out of the old tanks when they're getting trained. Not the overall mobility, because I think Feral is actually better because of travel form when they're flag capping, but they do have this survivability that is needed. On top of that, Prat Warriors can actually be very good at protecting the flags because of a Berserker Rage out of the sap, while Feral Druids don't have it. I heard a lot of European team run with a Feral Druid, and it actually is pretty solid choice because there's so much mobility, there's so much you can do as a Feral Druid. Blood Decays and Prat Polyts are number 5. Their mobility is not as good. Yes, Freedom is nice on Prat Poly, but it can be dispelled, and Blood Decay gonna have to actually just stand there and get shit on, even though he has a pretty good self-healing. Boomkins and rogues, actually we did a couple times pretty effectively when they would capture the flock and sprint it very fast when we need a second cap relatively fast, but that's about it. And no, they're not the real FCs, I'm just putting there to troll you guys a little bit. When it comes to having a different comps, from what I understand, there's 3 comps that can be competitive. And this is their stack rankings right now. Cleaves are number 10. They're the most effective and solid choices. You can never go wrong with a good Cleave comp. The second one is a burst comps. They are the second choice. They can have a chance to beat the Cleaves pretty easy. And they can beat melee Cleaves. Melee Cleaves number 6, but I've seen a couple at 2450 rating. But they have to be borderline amazing. In this case, I would actually say that the melee cleave do take quite a bit more skill than actually dot cleaves. When it comes to damage, it is very important in dot cleaves because a good dot cleave will out damage the other good dot cleave. 90% of the time, the winner is the one who does the most damage. If you guys seen a couple of my RBG videos, we would be winning only when we'll be doing most of the damage. Yes, we can do some ninja caps, and it usually comes to getting in strategy and how your RBG leader is better as a strategy person than the other one. But overall, in general, damage is actually pretty significant in RBGs when it comes to World of Warcraft PvP. So for them, they have a Boomkin at number 10 because they can be stacked, Warlock at number 9, Fire Mage at number 9, Shadow Priest at number 7, and actual Survival Hunter can participate in that as well, because simply they can actually do pretty decent AoE damage. Stacking classes is not bad at all, and if you can get ally shamans on the team, yeah, go for it, because they actually can provide quite a bit of burst. On the other hand, also stacking classes, probably Boomkins are the best for that shit as well. Yes, you can do some really good double Fire Mage or double Luck. I think actually, to be honest, double Fire Mage maybe work a little bit better than double Luck because of double combustion spread. But double Boomkins is probably right now the top tier when it comes to highest RBGs. I ran and I've seen 3000 rated RBGs only running with double Boomkins currently. When it comes to the burst comps, I would say those are the ones who burst that they like there's no tomorrow. Frost Mage is number 10 and Rogue are number 10. They're both mandatory. Ally Shaman is number 9 because burst comps don't have a lot of dot protection. They have a tendency to get dispelled quite often, and that's when the Ally Shaman can shine when his Flame Shock gets dispelled. Shadow Priests are really good too because they have burst. Frost Decays, Red Polys, and Hunters are also a pretty solid choice, but they can be replaced with another Frost Mage or Ally Shaman, especially when it comes to maybe Hunter and Red Poly. So even though I know there's some melee in here, yes, they can provide a very good burst and they actually need it. Melee Cleave? Oh my god, you guys gonna be laughing at me, but it actually is possible. And I've seen a couple very good organized melee Cleaves who would actually counter a dot Cleaves pretty easy. All they had to do is actually have one rogue sit on a lock, and then the Frost Decay and the Red Poly sit on one healer, usually the squishy is one like Disc Priest. And then another rogue and another Frost Decay, or another Arms or Feral for that matter, would actually sit on the other squishiest target. Oh my god, there's so much damage, and because they lock out the lock, he won't be able to get any UAs out, and it becomes a nightmare for a dot cleave because all of their dots will gonna get instantly dispelled. But for that matter, I would have Rogue for number 10, Frost Decay number 9 because of his significant damage, Red Poly at number 8, Arms and Ferals are actually at number 6 here, because they don't do as much damage as any other classes, and Red Polys do have quite a bit of better burst than them, and on top of that, Red Polys do have a really massive off healing. Yes, Feral has Cyclone, but overall Red Poly is a very solid choice. And Frost Mage 10? What the fuck you guys thinking about? This is Melee Cleave. Well, Melee Cleave are heavily reliant on actually some huge fast bursts. So having a Frost Mage is actually not bad at all for that comp as well, especially because he can actually do so much CCs. So that's it guys when it comes to RBG video. This was my third guide. I hope you guys liked it and find it helpful. The next one is gonna be about the roles. I'm gonna be talking about which individual class and their roles are about, and it's gonna be a huge series, so it's gonna probably take me about 1 week to make, but you guys gonna love it and enjoy it, I'll promise you that, and it's gonna help you out. Now guys, once you've watched this video, do you think I deserve thumbs up and subscribe? Yes, please subscribe to my channel, thumbs up this video and add it to the favorites, because it does help me a lot as a YouTuber. Thank you guys for watching, and до свидания.